Okay, welcome to this Terma video. Longchenpa has made it possible for these Terma videos to be available, like Padmasambhava buried Terma treasures to be discovered later. This is a Terma video. It's like it's here, and maybe you're discovering it right now, and maybe it's a time of turmoil. It's always a time of turmoil, actually, in this world. But maybe this is a convergence of turmoil. And so we're doing this ahead of time so that it's available, will be available to help out. Maybe your mind is in turmoil. That's okay. That's okay. The reality cannot be reflected in any way. So it can't be touched by any sort of reflections whatsoever. So reality is not in turmoil. Keep this in mind. So, welcome to this video. You're associating with the court of the Dharma King, Longchenpa, which is the right association to have as we allow ourselves to remember truth. It's just simply remembrance. So we sit here quietly and allow remembrance to take place. That's all. And as we remember, this feeling of, wow, I'm remembering comes up. And this reverberates. And we just sit quietly in the wow of this, not doing anything about it. Just all reactions, just say, okay, this is just an overall wow reaction. I'm remembering reality. I'm coming out of the turmoil, the mental turmoil. Now, this mental turmoil, there's been a vast convergence, if you're watching this video after this has taken place, a vast convergence. They call them sneaker waves in surfing, in the beach, sneaker waves, where a number of waves somehow converge out in the ocean. Their energy converges, and suddenly you get this wave that's way bigger than the rest of the waves. And what we have here in this world is a convergence of many, many, many trends converging together and producing a massive, massive impact upon us. Now, all of this has been seen beforehand, way, way beforehand. And so various efforts have been taken to provide materials to help out. So we're just hanging out here. We call it the court of the Dharma King. Hanging out in the court of the Dharma King. Abiding in the court of the Dharma King. And abidance is a little stronger than hanging out because there's some decorum here. And can you do this? Sure. Are you sitting down? Is your heart beating? Are you breathing? Yeah, you got your ears are there, your eyes are there. You can do it then. You can do it. And just be quiet. Just pay attention. Be attentive. Have an attention span. That's one of the things that there's so much trouble right now is attention span. So we're helping you. Well, you were dragged into the gutter of juvenile absurdity, spiritual absurdity, all right? So now drag yourself out of the gutter. We're helping you drag yourself out of the gutter. That's fine. That's how it happens. So if you feel you kind of like you're dragging, yeah, that's okay. Just start dragging yourself out of the gutter and start applying some attention span here. We don't always have to fill the space with talk, with images, with concepts. It's still there. It's still causative. Reality is entirely causative. Will always be. And We are reality, so we are causative. Causative of experiencing. Ineffable experiencing. But what we are can never be reflected in any way because we're freedom itself. How can a freedom, pure freedom, be reflected in any way? What mirror can you hold up to pure freedom to reflect pure freedom? There is no mirror, actually. So we're realizing that anything that's being reflected in a mirror, subject-object duality, is not us. It's not us at all. It's not. We cannot be reflected. Longchenpa is a great Dharma king, ineffable, realizing that reality cannot be reflected in any way. And in response to a plea for help, knowing that this convergence was coming, he responded and said, I'm here to help. I'll help out. So gradually, over the years, this has come about as making this video termas available ahead of time here. You might be watching ahead of time. You might be watching them after the convergence hits us. Foresight. And I'm Clarity Ross, the Dharma Prince Clarity Ross, given this responsibility by the Dharma King Longchenpa. The Dharma princes and princesses, they carry out certain tasks, certain helpful tasks. They make themselves useful and helpful to the Dharma kings and queens, is what they do. So, Dharma Prince Clarity Ross here, just saying a few words. And don't worry about trying to string anything together. It's not necessary. It's remembrance of what? Of no reflection. We take no reflection to be an abyss. It's right, absurdity. We're trying to abide in non-being. We're trying to be non-being, which is absurd. And so we think that no being non-being is an abyss. No, it's a complete fullness of causality, perfect, eternal causality. I am that. I am that. Now, so don't worry about stringing thoughts together. We're not concerned about that at all. It's not something linear. So in your turmoil, your mental psyche, your psyche's in turmoil, let's say. Your beingness, you think, is in turmoil. It's really just a belief system that's in turmoil. It's really absurdity that's in turmoil. Personality is a projection of absurdity. The personal self is a projection of absurdity. So that's okay. Let that be a turmoil. It's neither here nor there, actually. Just don't be interested in that. Don't judge the turmoil. Just say wow to it all. Okay, the whole situation here. It's just say, okay, just wow. Full stop on the wow. Okay, wow. I don't have to think about it. The wow is just there. And that's all there is to say about absurdity and the freedom from absurdity and everything other than reality. Just wow. That's it. It covers it all. Everything that needs to be covered, that covers it. And then just full stop in that wow. Don't need to do anything about it. Don't need to advance, don't need to retreat, don't need to fixate in the now, don't need to wander off on side trips, don't need to plan, organize, think, scheme, decide, act. We don't need to do anything at all. Reality is already real. The turmoil in our mirror doesn't mean anything to reality. Reality cannot be reflected at all. So it doesn't matter what the mirror is like, actually. It doesn't matter, does it? It doesn't matter what the mirror is like. We don't need to worry about the mirror so much, do we? Don't try to clear the mirror. It's gotten foggy. It doesn't matter. It's just a foggy mirror. What we are doesn't need to be reflected, cannot be reflected. We don't need any reflection. Causality doesn't need any reflection of causality itself. All experiencing is one with causality. It is the expression of causality. It's the isness, not the reflection. It's an isness, not a reflection. Not a perspective, not a viewpoint, not a concept, not a label, not a symbol, not a word. So as all these labels, concepts, words, reactions, everything's all scrambled up. Hey, scrambled eggs, don't worry, it's scrambled eggs. It doesn't, we're not dependent on any reflection of what we are. So I'm just saying, if you just sort of putting this out there, Longchenpa is the ineffableness of it all, really. It's just radiating upon it, so to speak. It's just ineffable radiation of beneficence. And so in this video, you might hear somebody go, ow! And then a golf ball goes in, plop, goes in the canal, right? Well, this is like us, right? I mean, we hit our golf ball in the canal. So just, yeah, tee up another one, right? Say, okay, well, that one's gone. Believe me, I hit plenty of golf balls on this canal. It was fun, actually. It's kind of like, oh, cool. Hit a golf ball in the canal. Probably wanted to. Of course, everything we do is what we want to do. Nothing happens to us that's not our own choosing. And, yeah, why not hit a golf ball in the canal? But then don't go screaming and say, oh, it's horrible, terrible. Just say, okay, everything's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. And now I'm going to tee one up and stripe it down the middle. Or maybe pop it down the middle. Or slice it to the right. Or whatever, but move it down the fairway. Okay, well, we'll get moving here. Okay, we've had our golf ball in the canal experience and have a good laugh about it. And now let's move it on towards some maturity here. The world has been inundated by juvenility, you might say, juvenile delinquency, juvenile spiritual delinquency, convergence of juvenile spiritual delinquency. Aggrandizement and paranoia. The two are inseparable, two sides of one coin. Personality and paranoia. And so we've just gone into a very tumultuous situation, but that doesn't reflect upon us at all. So why are we trying to draw distinctions? It's just scrambled eggs. Got some nice bird sounds that are helping out here. Thank the birds here. Thank you, birds. Now, what we do, it'll take a while. Okay, it'll take a while. Don't worry. It's not instantaneous. We've really set ourselves up for a nasty fall, haven't we? So just say, okay, brush yourself off. It takes a little while to calm down. If you've ever had some sort of fall or something that it shocks you, you don't recover, right away. Let's say a traffic accident. You don't necessarily recover right away. Maybe a couple days, or so. Well, in this situation, it'll take a while to let the reverberations fade away from it. But just say that they'll fade away. And so let's get moving on this now. Let's time to mature. Time to be the adult in the room. Time to mature. Time to take the big picture and recognize the big picture. As long as we're stuck in the little picture, we'll keep reincarnating, coming and going, coming and going, coming and going, because we're under the spell of absurdity, and it's paranoia, and it's a projection of reality onto these fixations we call forms, and then killing the forms and thinking that this is getting rid of reality. I mean, non-being is threatened by what? Being. So the idea of non-being feels that reality, being, is a total threat to it. So it's trying to get rid of this threat to it. Okay, so it has imagined all this fixation, bodies, worlds, nature, all of this, and as if it represents life, as if it represents reality. It's symbolic. It's all symbolic, all this. And then it kills everything, doesn't it? It destroys everything. And it thinks it's destroying reality. But the more that it tries to destroy reality, the more paranoid it gets. Because ultimately, this silly notion of trying to be separate from God and be our own prime creator and be non-being, it comes from reality, because we're spirit. We're the ones who had this idea. We're the ones dreaming this dream. So the more we try to get rid of reality, the more paranoid we get. Like that because without reality, we would cease to exist, wouldn't we? So we're generating our own fear in this situation, and it gets worse and worse and worse. It's really bad. It gets bad. And don't try to string it together too much. Just hear it, just say, that sounds nice. It's kind of like listening to music. You don't have to be the piano player here. Just be the audience, just listen. Don't try to figure out, well, how are they playing those piano keys? Well, I mean, piano players train to play, and it takes a lot of practice. But the purpose of a piano player isn't for people to try to linearly follow their fingers and say, okay, how they move the finger there, and how many finger movements did they make, and count the finger movements and all this stuff. No, that's just to listen, to hear it, and to be moved by it, and to be elevated by it out of the gutter, out of the spiritual gutter. So we just listen to this. Quiet voice here, quiet voice. California cool voice here, hanging out here. We're in California recording this, and just enjoy. Let it sink in. Don't try to rearrange your thoughts. Don't try to fix your thoughts, rearrange, structure, organize, catalog them, categorize. No, don't worry about it. There's no reflection of what we are. So whatever is appearing like clouds, they don't reflect what we are at all. However the clouds appear, they're just silly fixations that we're trying to destroy ourselves by imagining that we have some definition that can be fixated upon and then destroyed. So we see a cloud arise, and then the cloud disappears. This is the whole nature of coming and going, of impermanence. Is an attempt to destroy reality, is what it really is. And of course, it doesn't have any effect at all. It's just a dream. It's just our imagination. The Dharma kings and queens, they know all this. They're completely aware of all this. They inform us, the ones who pay attention. Ultimately, they move, well, not ultimately, but they move towards remembrance, and at some point they become more and more helpful. And then you could say that they may be a Dharma prince or princess, and they can speak like this. So all definitions of what we are equally absurd. You don't rank. We don't rank definitions. Like, this is the one this definition is closer to what we are than this one. It's like saying how much closer can you get to zero? There's no definition. So how can we get closer to defining what we are? Which definition is better? They're all absurd, actually. They're all equally absurd. Now, to us, this is a shock. We're playing the game of rearranging all these definitions now, right? And this is a lot of turmoil. But this game is not necessary. And the outcome of this game is meaningless. Completely meaningless. It's zero. Zero outcome. Zero definition. So, no matter how you add it up, we can rearrange a trillion times everything, and it's still zero. I mean, it's just the same as it is now. There's as much reality right now as there ever will be. And absurdity is just as irrelevant right now as it ever will be. And definition is just as irrelevant as it ever will be right now. So you're not forsaken at all. In fact, we can't forsake what we are. Our thoughts can seem, our symbols, our sacrificial fixations might seem to be forsaking us because, oh my gosh, I thought that was life and that was reflecting what I am, and now I lost that, Oh, this is, I'd be forsaken. No. What we are is not being forsaken at all. Because we are not anything specific at all. We are pure causation, pure freedom to cause any experiencing we want to cause. But we are never caused by the experiencing. Effects are never truly causative at all. We remain perfectly causative of anything and nothing whatsoever. We don't have to experience this. We don't have to not experience it, whatever it may be. Free. We're free. We are intrinsic spaciousness, are we not? There's just intrinsic spaciousness. We'll use some words here. Intrinsic spaciousness, intrinsic spaciousness, intrinsic spaciousness, intrinsic spaciousness, all-pervasive smoothness, all-pervasive smoothness. What are we? All-pervasive smoothness. Intrinsic spaciousness, self-sprung display, the original matrix of the now, the matrix of primal awareness, intrinsic spaciousness, the total sameness of spaciousness, the total isness of spaciousness, the total oneness of spaciousness, released in the now, unchanging and unelaborated, an uninterrupted flow, incapable of alteration or sublimation, the unvarying now, nothing to adopt or abandon, all-pervasive smoothness, intrinsic spaciousness. All things are the same. All things just are. Everything is. Everything is. Nothing better or worse. Why make any judgment? It's that way at its inception. There's only inception. There's only spontaneous inception, pure causality. Living in the space where object and mind are identical. Everything is always absent in intrinsic spaciousness. Thingness is absent. Everything is known in its intrinsic state, as it abides. All directions are all the same in intrinsic spaciousness. Everything arises in the isness of intrinsic spaciousness. Everything is the same at rest. Everything's at rest in the intrinsic spaciousness of reality. And everything dissolving is dissolving in its own intrinsic spaciousness. The clouds arise in their own intrinsic spaciousness. They move about in their intrinsic spaciousness, and they dissolve. In intrinsic spaciousness. It's in the unbroken stream. Cause and effect are inseparable. There's just spontaneous inception, just pure causality. Pure causality is always at play. There's nothing other than that. At every moment, there's just pure causality at play. We use the term effects to distinguish between manifest and unmanifest, as it were, but actually it's all the same. Pure causality is just present, whether something is manifest or not manifest. Because the pure potentiality is the same. It's always the same. It always is. And we're playing here, playing around, improvising. We're not trying to get you to follow some text, okay? We're beyond that. We're looking at more abstraction. As soon as you start thinking you have to follow some text or linear, then your mind, you engage the sequencing of thinking and thoughts. And if your mind is in turmoil, then this will panic you. And you say, I can't hang with it. So we don't do that here. We don't need to. It's actually a good practice. Don't worry about it. Just remembrance, little glimpses of remembrance. No matter how we live, we stay in the nature of mind. No matter how we feel, we abide in the nature of mind. No matter how we move in the nature of mind. Whatever we say reverberates as mind's nature. Whatever is expressed is articulated as mind's nature. Whatever ideas emerge are thought as the nature of mind. Whatever concepts emerge are conceived as the nature of mind. And ideas and concepts never truly exist in the nature of mind. There's just this pure causation. Thoughtless mind, we could say. Or not say. We could also not say that. Do we need thought to cease moving? Well, has it ever moved? Is it actually moving? Or is it just pure causation, which is actually perfect stillness? Or all movement is another way of saying it. Complete, total movement, all present in the now, right now. We have the great Dharma King, Ramana Maharshi, saying, in his silence, he said, I'm not really silent. What this really is I'm saying everything, endlessly. Everything is being said here. Nothing is being left out. So this is a way of looking at it too. Do we need to try and cease thought? Or do we just merely need to see that there really is no thought taking place actually? That's just a whim, an idle whim, a wishfulness to believe that thought is actually taking place. Is it really taking place? Has it ever taken place? And we're busy trying to organize our thoughts because we're paranoid. Say, oh my gosh, deep down we think thought has never taken place and we need to sacrifice something. So we need to have something to sacrifice. But is there really anything to sacrifice? Is the question, isn't it? And Let us submit here that there's nothing to sacrifice. There's only pure causation in the now. But don't try to string thoughts together. Just let this reverberate in all directions. 360-degree reverberation. Right? 360-degree reverberation without a center, without a circumference, and without an in-betweenness. Just abstract reverberation. There's never been any thought, or illusions, or images, or hallucination. None of that has ever taken place, actually. These are just labels, wishful labels, we're trying to put upon pure causation, so that we can sacrifice it and try to get rid of our fear of non-being. Believing once we get rid of reality, then we won't be threatened with the loss of non-being. This is the absurdist trap that we're struggling with. But again, the more we try to get rid of reality, the more paranoid we become. It's terrifying. What's happening? Something's ganging up on me. And then we project it onto form, fixations, and believe that there's something out to get us, right? It's paranoia, right? Something's really out to get us, bad. We got to fight against it. But it's really our own desire to get rid of reality that is making us fearful. We're trying to be greater than God. Trying to establish ourselves as our own prime creators separate from God. Whereas really we're just in the isness stream of God. We are. There is just this isness stream that we call God. The isness, the stream of isness. And all is that. There's only that. The stream of isness. Like this canal. Actually, this canal is actually moving, believe it or not. It seems very quiet, but it slowly moves. It's beautiful. It's so serene. I love canals like this. Just water, still calm water, and yet there's a flow to it, a gentle flow to it. But it's not being disturbed like a creek or a river. No, it's smooth, 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 smooth. And even the ripples you see, the ball goes in the water and the ripples, they smooth out, don't they? Quickly, it all smooths out. And it's back to this serenity. Actually, it never lost the serenity. Reality never loses its serenity. Stream of isness. Now we think that we're thinking. But we're not really thinking. Nobody's thinking, actually. No one's thinking. So why do we need to get rid of thoughts? Isn't this self-defeating? To get rid of something that doesn't exist, doesn't that just perpetuate our paranoia? Our fear, our struggle? Because then we have to believe that there's thinking and thoughts to get rid of. But where do they come from? That means there's something separate from causation, pure causation, right? Which means we believe that there's some non-beingness that is causative, or being. It's being non-beingness, and we just end up trying to keep empowering that by getting rid of what doesn't exist. So we don't need to stop our thoughts or get rid of our thoughts or do anything with our thoughts, because there are no thoughts, actually. This is a misidentification, claiming that there's thoughts. And then we just lose interest. Ultimately, we lose interest when the more we realize that it's just pure causation is taking place. That's all there is. And do we struggle with the clouds in the sky, or we just, if they're clouds in the sky, just ornamentation of, of, of intrinsic spaciousness. It's just intrinsic spaciousness ornamenting itself. That's all. Do we look up at the sky and struggle with the clouds in the sky, really? No, we don't, do we? Children might. Juveniles might say, I don't like that cloud up there. It looks like something I don't like. And then, but it changes, and now it's something different. And we get caught up in that. But later on in life, we may not even worry about the clouds and how they appear. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't affect us, really, does it? If we're inside a house, are we affected by the clouds? Not really. We're just, what we call thoughts is just an attempt on our part to sacrifice something, which is just to believe in symbols of sacrifice. But nothing is being sacrificed. There's just pure causation that cannot be sacrificed. The sacrifice itself is also pure causation. There's nothing but pure causation in the now. Nothing ever leaves its intrinsic spaciousness. There's no leaving of it. Wherever we go, we're still entirely here, right? Everything is always exactly where it is. It's here. It's in the here-ness. It's in the here-now-ness of intrinsic spaciousness. So this is just a dawning of remembrance. We don't have to string a conceptual structure of thoughts to get this at all. I'm not trying to string too many thoughts together here. I'm speaking extemporaneously for the most part. And using a few words of Longchenpa is suggesting some of his writings. I'll throw a little bit in there, but I may take a little snippet here, a little snippet there. I'm not going linear in a linear way at all. Jumping around. Naturally disposed in our very being. All thought forms subsiding by themselves into themselves. Well, if that's the case, did they ever leave their inherent causality? No. So what is a thought form? It's just an ornamentation of its own spaciousness, is it not? Just like everything. Pure causation. Pure causation. It's crucial the mind is undistracted and without motivation, remaining in its natural disposition, transcending goal orientation. Repetitive accomplishment is not accomplishment. We don't need accomplishment. Transcend goal orientation, full stop in the wow. Transcend goal orientation, full stop in the wow. Now, virtuosity is what I do. A Dharma Prince is a virtuoso. But there's not goal orientation here. So the real virtuosity here is to feel free to drop goal orientation. There's helpfulness. There's encouragement, and help towards remembrance, etc. You can say remembrance, but there's no fixation on goal orientation in terms of thoughts and structure like that, because what we're remembering is that we don't need any accomplishment at all. There's no goal orientation of pure causation. Just let it reverberate. Just let this reverberate. Don't have to do anything with it. Just let it reverberate. Just be in this reverberation without trying to establish a center. Without trying to establish a center to the reverberation, without trying to establish a circumference to the reverberation, without trying to establish a middle ground, a middle place to reverberation, just allow it, this remembrance to reverberate. Just allow it to reverberate. And that's it. And just be patient in that. And gradually we will feel familiar with this. They say, okay, it's not so shocking to me as before. It's like you get a suntan. And getting out in the sun then, it's not so much of a problem. When you first go out in the sun, you don't have a suntan. Oh, you know, it burns you. You get burned. Oh, I got to be careful. And later on, you get a suntan, and you can be out in the sun. Some people go out in the sun all day, and their tan is so good, it just doesn't bother them. They don't get a burn. And don't try to draw a direct reference to the sun. This is just a metaphor, of course, because getting too much of a suntan has its troubles associated with it, right? Certainly does. But this does not have that sort of troubles associated with it. It does have the, sort of the shock of the wow. The shock of the wow. Yeah. The shock of the wow, the shock of the reverberation. Yeah, absolutely. And so we just patiently, it wears off. It wears off of its own accord, without us having to do anything except being patient and not reacting to it. And not reacting to it. And not reacting. Just don't react. Don't try to do anything about it. Don't try to fix it. Don't try to arrange it. Don't try to scheme from it, plan from it, strategize from it, think about it, categorize, arrange, organize it. Don't try to organize the reverberation. This is why we say full stop in the wow. Not this, not this, not this, not this, not this, and don't even fixate on not this. It just is. The reverberation is reverberating. That's what it is. Just let it reverberate. Let the remembrance reverberate. And be good attitude. Smile. And this is fine. It's an ordeal. Wonderful ordeal here. And also realize, hey, this is the end. You know, this is the road to no more troubles for me. Really, I'm leaving that behind. That was fun, a little bit crazy, but I'm not really interested in it anymore. This attempt to be non-being, I'm not really interested in it anymore. That's all. No judgment upon it. We don't need to judge it. It's just I'm not really into that anymore. It doesn't pique my interest. I'm not really intrigued by it. Been there, done that, and now it's just I'm moving on from that pure causality and to another experience of pure causality. That's all. Just not interested in it any longer. Don't judge it when we're there. It's all pure causality. What's there to judge? What's there to judge, actually? And so give yourself these interludes in your day, and realize there's something to go back to. You see, as you frantically are trying to fix the world, realize, oh, I can go back to this. I can go back to this. I can listen to it again. How about that? Isn't that amazing? I don't have to be this linear That says, well, I already listened to this video once. Okay, that I can't go back. I mean, push through some linear process. You say, no, I can go back to listen again, just like a song you like. My gosh, I've listened. We listen to some songs we like hundreds of times, maybe thousands of times. I'll go back and listen. I want to hear it again. We can go back and do it again. Listen to it again. We think there's some progressive teaching that here, okay, I've done that, I can't listen to this again. No, it's not like that. We're not putting you, that's not the pressure that's here. I go back and listen, read something profound, and I do it again and again and again and again and again and again. Every time it strikes some chord in me. Say, oh, yeah, that chord. I love that chord. Thank you. So we're just striking these chords, and we're hearing it, and just saying, that helps my remembrance. And you'll wonder later on, how in the world did I not do this before? It's incredible. Well, we were trying to be non-being. And trying to get rid of the fear that this engenders. So we had to go what we felt. So I've already killed this, and I got to kill the next thing, and I got to kill the next thing. And this has to die. So we think, okay, this video's dead. Now I go on to the next video. That's got to die too. And we're caught up in this death. What do you call it? Realm. Death play. Okay, death play. We're in this death play where we're trying to execute everything, projecting our fear onto all these presumed fixations, presumed things, and then dissolving, destroying these things, getting rid of them, their appearancing, and then claiming, another part of reality bit the dust, as if reality, as if pure causation could be fragmented and then bit by bit destroyed. This is what we're trying to do with perception, with thinking, and all this supposed, it's dream, this imagination, this play of absurdity, really, imaginative absurdity, hallucination, whatever you want to call it. This is what we're trying to do, actually. Get rid of this all-encompassing fear, the fear of reality, by symbolizing reality, and then having all these fragments, symbolic fragments, and then changing the labels of these fragments, destroying these fragments, whatever you want to call it, and call it death, destruction, coming and going, dissolution, and thinking that, okay, we've got rid of part of reality. But it doesn't work, and so we keep trying to say we need more symbols, more symbols, more symbols, try to get rid of. We don't need to do any of this. We just relax and just have a good laugh and listen and hear and remember and reverberate. The shock of reverberation, the shock of recognition. All my expectations that I needed to do this and this and this and this. I needed to kill everything. I needed to, execute, sacrifice the whole universe. I don't need to do that. There's nothing there to sacrifice, actually. Now, this is the shock that we're afraid to see, isn't it? Because we think sacrifice is safety. That's how we attain freedom from fear. We think salvation comes from a successful sacrifice. And so when we see there's nothing actually to sacrifice at all, it's all just pure causation, then we say, well, whoa, how can I be safe from my fear then? But in the moment we see there's nothing, there's only pure causation, we feel bliss. We feel, well, I am safe. And say, wait a minute, I already am safe. I already am free of fear. So why do I need to do something else other than that? Well, habit, right? Continuity, fear, and habit. And we get pulled back into the habit. And if whoa. Then we think, well, what did I sacrifice to get this bliss? Nothing. We realize there's nothing to sacrifice, is how we got it. All praise to the Dharma kings and queens. Jesus, Longchenpa, Ramana Maharshi, and Anandamayi Ma. Those are the ones that we use, for sure. Those are four great examples. And there are other examples, but we don't need to be exhaustive. We're not categorizing or cataloging or anything. These are the ones that we can mention here, without trying to exclude any others in any way. We're not trying to make it too complicated here. We're just talking from the standpoint of thanks to the great Dharma king, Longchenpa, for instance. They've all helped each other out in this. What we're doing here is a combination effort among these four great teachers, really. Well, some assist from some Dharma princes and princesses, actually, too. But in terms of a label, we're using the label Longchenpa as the Dharma king here. Less baggage associated with it, really. It's tough to try to get anything going with Jesus in this world where the juvenile attitude towards Jesus is so prevalent. It's really tough. Most attitudes towards Longchenpa are very, very mature, if there's any at all. There's not much, but the ones that are there are quite mature in general. Okay, so there's way less trouble doing it this way, actually. I didn't know who Longchenpa was. He introduced himself, and just not his name, but just himself. He's the Dharma king. He says, "Here I am." And I said, "Wow, I like you. This is great." And later on, I found out it's Longchenpa, and I said, "Well, what's that mean? I don't know. Never heard of it. Longchenpa, never knew. There's no baggage, no baggage. So it's just straight, direct introduction, no baggage." Which is great. Nothing to get rid of. So it works. It works really nicely there. Now with Jesus, I found that no matter how I tried, you have all that. Everyone has all this baggage. Well, Christians do, and the world in general. All this baggage. Everyone, you say the term Jesus, everybody has just a massive complex of reactions and thoughts that arise. Whereas you say to be Longchenpa, nothing arises. No thought would arise, but it does nothing at all. So it's just, for me, it just is what it is. However I experience Longchenpa, that's what it is. So it was very, very smooth and easy to be in the court of the Dharma king Longchenpa. Just pay attention. No baggage there. Again, you say the word, Longchenpa's helped me. What? Huh? Shrug? I don't know. No, never heard of the name. I don't even know what that is. If you say the word yoga, then there's a whole bunch of reaction. But it's not even yoga. We're not doing yoga. We're not doing anything. We're just in the court of the Dharma king is what we're really doing. We're just abiding in the court of the Dharma king here. And the court has Dharma princes and princesses. Theoretically. Doesn't have to be one or the other or both, really. But there's helpers that help. There's assistants. Longchenpa, the Dharma king, has assistants that help out. I don't know. I don't worry about who or how many or whatever. I just do my thing. Help out as I can help out, and do what I can do here. Get these video termas up is what I'm doing. And that's taken a lot of doing in a lot of ways. It's just the whole notion of just can-do-ness and smoothness and everything is just unfathomable. It's easy if you know exactly what to do ahead of time and you have all the will to do it. But if not, then you're stumbling. You're dragging yourself along, and ultimately you kind of stumble upon it. And you say, "Can I do this? I mean, is it really? Oh my gosh, what a shock. I mean, this is possible? Bury these video termas ahead of time? Wow. What a notion. What an amazing notion, isn't it?" So you have these video termas you can pay attention to. You can pay attention to this, you can pay attention to that. And then deep down you feel everything's okay. It's not only that it will come all right in the end, as Ramana Maharshi said. It's that it's all right right now. There is no end. Because there's no beginning. There's no beginning or end to pure causation. There's only pure causation. So how can we talk about a beginning? That brings up the idea of an end, doesn't it? Can you really speak of a beginning when there's no end to it? What's the meaning of that? It's just silly, isn't it? And there's no middle point to it, is there? No center, no circumference, no in-betweenness at all. And this is not to be grasped as a concept, it's to be felt as a remembrance. You're feeling this, it's like, oh yeah, this is true. Yeah, I know that. It's like, oh yeah, I know that. I know this is true. So what do we need to do about it? Nothing. Just keep in mind that there is nothing we need to do about it. Our tendency is to try to do something about it. Well, yeah, okay, it's great, but I got to do something about it. I got to get rid of the end. Oh, there's no ending. I got to get rid of the end to it. No, there's no beginning. Oh, I got to get rid of the beginning. No, they're not there to get rid of. I don't need to do anything. Is ultimately the truth. And we're so accustomed to believing in our paranoia, we have to do something. Something has got to be rearranged. Something has to be sacrificed. That to do nothing is like, wow, how shocking. How shocking. At least we think we need to string some thoughts together. Not even that. Now, I know I'm reflecting poorly on the Dharma, great Dharma King, or just Dharma King. The greatness is inherent in the term Dharma King. Dharma means spiritual protection, really. That's what it means. Protection, but it implies spiritual protection. The Dharma. You're protecting your mind from self-delusion. Right? From trying to do something. So the Dharma King is the great protection, the great spiritual protection, the king of spiritual protection, the queen of spiritual protection. This is profound. And I know I'm reflecting very poorly upon that, of course. That comes with the territory. Dharma Prince, Princess. We know, hey, this is just muddy. We're throwing out muddy water here, but that's okay. Because there is no reflection of the self. We can't reflect upon it, actually. But it's still helpful, though, because we're hearing this. And we're using words, so of course we'll seem to be just throwing a bunch of mud up there. And so words are reflective, right? They seem to reflect something. But in reality, there's no reflection of reality at all. But we use words to reassure ourselves it's okay to recognize that there's only pure causation. There are no real words, there are no real thoughts. None of that is self-existent at all. It's just idle whim, wishfulness, I guess you'd say, whimsicality, to believe that it's possible. It's not possible. It's just mislabeling, misinterpreting, willful misinterpretation of reality. What is that? Does that change reality? A willful, whimsical misinterpretation of reality? How does that change reality? It doesn't. How does that establish independent causation from reality? It doesn't. Doesn't do anything. So, you may be viewing this in a long, hot summer, right? We're taping this here in the springtime, April 2nd, 2016. And maybe it's already starting to heat up here. This week is supposed to heat up here quite a bit, into the 90s. And I could feel it. I could feel this heat's building up. The sun is hitting me. And you may be listening to this, and it's like the longest, hottest summer ever. And the intensity is just too much, right? Yeah, but here, it's cool and relaxed and comfortable and not bothered. Longchenpa, the Dharma King's not bothered. He's not disturbed, not confused, not buying into the idea that any of this is reflective upon reality. Nothing is reflective upon reality. Not triumph, not victory, not anything. Nothing is reflective upon reality. So don't bother trying to triumph, or fix, or get rid of, or do anything, actually. Ultimately, we need do nothing. This comes from Dharma King Jesus. Dharma King meaning, again, spiritual protector. Dharma King Jesus, spiritual protector, King Jesus, the great King Jesus, as giving us spiritual protection. A great King of spiritual protection. Dharma King Jesus. We need do nothing. Dharma King Jesus. Dharma is a Hindu-Buddhist word, basically. But it's a nice word because we don't have too much. It's spiritual protection, all wrapped up. Just the word, just Dharma, Dharma King, the King of spiritual protection. And they do that by just the equanimity, unperturbable equanimity. If you look at Longchenpa, this is a statue, a figurine of Longchenpa, you might say, that looks similar to what I saw when I met him, Longchenpa. It looks quite similar to how he looks. Not exactly, but it conveys a very strong impression, you might say, of this equanimity, unperturbable, undisturbable equanimity of just pure causation, and not a trace of identification with any sort of reflection of any type, not seeking for reflection of the self, of reality, of pure causation, of pure freedom. Just abiding, just that, I am that. The isness as the isness, all is all. Just that, the suchness, the isness. And this is radiated to us as this massive reassurance, which is Dharma, which is spiritual protection. So we take refuge in the court of the Dharma King. We're taking refuge in the court of the Dharma King, right? Taking refuge in the court of the Dharma King. Taking refuge in the court of the Dharma King. And thoughts may go by like cars on the street. Let them go. We don't have to run after the cars, do we? No, we don't have to be chasing these so-called thoughts. They're not really thoughts anyway. They're not really going anywhere. How does pure causation go anywhere? How does intrinsic spaciousness go anywhere? No coming or going. All coming and going is mere mental projection. Now, does the I get this? There is no I to get it. The I doesn't have to get it. What is the I? The one to be sacrificed. Right? The I is really just a sacrificial fixation, the notion of something has to die in order for us to be, quote, safe. So we want the I to understand something, then we can kill it. And we think with it, the understanding of reality has died. And so we feel safer. But so we don't worry about the I getting anything or understanding anything. There's nothing nothing to understand. Who could understand? There's no other causation other than just pure causation. So there's nothing to understand pure causation at all. It just is. It's not saying, oh, I gotta figure out how to understand myself. There's none of that. That's all sacrificial folly. All of that absurdity. So this is the first of these videos. I started a new channel attached to the main channel. It was too difficult to try to make new users on Google. It is so difficult to jump through the hoops. So I attached these channels to the central channel. Here, Christ Clarity channel, and as part of this overall court of the Dharma kings and queens concept, where we take refuge and abide in the court of the Dharma king, the Dharma queen, we take refuge. And this is the first one here on this channel of the court of the Dharma king, Longchenpa. And as the first, I don't think I put Longchenpa in the title. But that's what it is. You can see this. So we're winding this down now. Don't want to make it too long. We don't want to make it too short either, do we? We want to give ourselves a good workout. When we get into a workout, don't we kind of keep pushing and say, well, I already got things going. Let me see if I can really get a good workout here. Don't want to overdo it because maybe we won't come back for a while. So we just want to make this just right. So a little over an hour, so very great. Very enjoyable doing this. Terma videos. What a concept, huh? What a beautiful way of looking at Terma videos. Like buried treasure, like Padmasambhava burying all the treasures. Yeshisogal and Padmasambhava going about innumerable places burying all sorts of treasures. Now they may have just been mind treasures, right? Some mind treasures, some books, some statues, some relics, some this, some that, all over the place they went, so many places, burying all these treasures. Then later on, centuries later, maybe 1,000 years later, you know, on and on, discovered, they're discovered and brought to light. So we're burying this here in plain sight. It's just when you're ready to come across it, you'll come across it. It's like that. Maybe there'll be a Terma discoverer, video Terma discoverer, who will say, hey folks, there's this really great, you know, website here. You go to this. Oh my gosh, look at these video Termas. It's wonderful. And they'll discover this. Possibly like that, huh? I don't know. I'm just doing it, just enjoying doing it. And so that's it for this one. Just let the reverberation happen. Don't do anything about it. Just be aware of it. That you really have this very strong wow. This has been very intense. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I thought, most people think, oh, I thought I was forsaken. I thought I'm all messed up. I thought there's no help. I thought this. I think. Wow. Not so fast. Not so fast. Not so fast, panic. Not so fast, fear. Not so fast, absurdity. Not so fast, sacrificial death. Not so fast here. Hold up on that sacrifice just a bit now. I don't think I'm quite ready for that. And maybe it's not necessary, right? Yeah, right. Okay. The sun is just going full blast in my face, which is wonderful. So, all praise to the Dharma King, and all praise to those in the court of the Dharma King.